and we shot everything in one night, I think, of his scene.
He's Joe, right? The neighbor?
He plays the neighbor, Joe.
So good.
Super talented. He was in Late Night with the Devil. One of the producers played D&D with him, so they just knew each other, and he was down to come on board.
Do anything for your D&D buddies.
There you go.
I always like to ask this question when I'm in a Q&A because I'm just so terribly curious. Were there any like horror movie days on set where maybe something didn't go right or you had like an obstacle to overcome? What was like kind of a big challenge during the production?
Yeah, there were definitely some weird things, like that fire alarm. I don't think that's a coincidence.
It really set the vibe, though.
It set the vibe. You guys missed a scare, but I guess you got a bigger scare with the fire alarm. But there were definitely, weird things, like we would have the same dreams with some of the cast, and it would start pouring when we would do the rituals. So we changed all the words, so it wasn't exactly word for word. But yeah, there were definitely just some interesting things going on for sure. And we tried to make it as authentic as possible. We had folks offer to bring human remains to the chamber. We ended up moving away from that, but it was definitely an interesting experience.
Authenticity, for real. I'd love to take a couple of questions from the audience. If anyone's got a question rolling around. You in the back?
Hi, could you just explain what we missed with the fire alarm? Because I'm so nosy, like between under the bed to him knocking on the door again and the scare we missed.
Yes, okay. Well, you'll have to watch it in theaters May 2nd, but I'll explain it and I'll talk through it.
I swear I'm reviewing it, I promise.
Okay, so she's under the bed, she sees grandma's shoes, and then she pulls up and it's just a pair of shoes, there's no grandma. And then she looks up, she's hanging out, and then the monster bursts through the bed and starts vomiting worms and blood all over her. She's covered in vomit, and then Joe knocks at the door again. So it's like, okay. And so watch it in theaters, it's worth the scene.
Thank you.
Anybody else? You?
Okay, so I was especially struck by like how visually confident and slick it was, especially for this being your first feature and you being so young. Where does that confidence and that capability come from? Is that like film school? Is that just experimenting with different visual stuff with your shorts and other practicing? And also kind of like what were your visual influences for that?
Yeah, for this movie, I mean, the challenge was it's all one apartment, so you got to switch it up. And that's visually mixing it up. So also a little bit inspired by like Italian giallo, like 70s, super bright, super colorful. Inspired by like old school Mexican movies. In terms of my background, I've been working on horror movies since I was a kid, tying prosthetics to my dog that was a movie monster, killing my cousins off. So I was always like just making those sort of things. But that was a big thing for this film, was just keeping it visually dynamic. We used a ton of camera rotations, a lot of zoom lenses, like old school zoom lenses. Just trying to make it really interesting and switch it up so you don't get bored in the one apartment.
All right, great question. You?
Yeah, I liked the visual style of this movie, and I like kind of like some nods to some like Raimi stuff with the dolly shots going on early halfway. I had a question about the creative process in regards to the third act of this film, because there's a lot of twists. Is that something that was in the script or something that you sort of like developed during shooting, and how do you think that plays in, now seeing it with the crowd?
Yeah, I think something for us was, it was always about the dad being behind it, because the film ultimately is about sacrifice, and I think the ultimate, all of these characters, the father, the grandmother, the mother, make these sacrifices for Rosario that tend to backfire, and it's kind of the weight and the burden of those sacrifices. So for me, it made a lot of sense that dad was behind this all along. So I think that was a big part for us, and then we wanted to end it on a big scare, so I think that kind of explains the ending, and that these things sort of stick with you. You don't just grow beyond it, too.
Great question, great answer. Any other questions out there? I've been seeing End over here a lot.
Got the blanket and everything over here.
She wasn't where you're from, exactly.
Colombia, from Bogota.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, so that's where we shot it, which was very full circle for me.
I just have to say that I love what you mentioned about sacrifices, because not only you show the sacrifices in the movie and everything with the religion, but it also be part of like that Latin America and like South America sacrifices. Anybody that just comes to this country in different ways. So and I say we because I'm part of it, so we go through a lot, and I just think
and someone said to me today that we kind of carry 3 generations within us. So even if we didn't go through those sacrifices, the sacrifices our parents, our grandparents, our great-grandparents made for us to be here and succeed, I think is really what it's at the heart of this movie.
Thank you for sharing. Any other questions?
I know a lot of times authors, when a book's written in English but it includes Spanish, they're sometimes pressured to not keep that Spanish there or really reduce it in order to not alienate English readers. Did you encounter that? I really enjoyed having the Spanish in the movie mixed in. I thought that was really important to the storytelling. Did you encounter any pressure from folks to reduce that or not reduce that?
No, I think we were all on board that it's, important that it reflects at least how I speak with my parents and my grandparents, where I grew up speaking English first, so that's, what I know. Sometimes my Spanish isn't perfect, so I wanted to make sure that it felt, like my family specifically, so, whereas the mom and the grandmother, they're more fluent and they speak it more. So I think it made sense for us, and there wasn't a lot of pushback.
Any more questions out there, you guys? You?
On set, was there very much, did you have very many opportunities to like cleanse the set or anything like that? I know you were talking a little bit about some people were offering like human remains and that kind of stuff. Like, was there anything that you felt like needed to be done on set to kind of keep things clean? And I know you kind of mentioned about the coincidence of the alarm going off and we're in New Orleans and you got a horror film, like, was there any of that going on stage, on set?
Yeah, I used to have the little prop doll after the movie in my bedroom, but I ended up moving and put it in a closet because it's a little, I do, I have like my mom, when I started, she's like, okay, here's this little spray bottle of holy water, so if you ever need to spray the set or anything, you can cleanse it yourself, say these couple of words and you're good. So that was fine for me.
Y'all are asking some awesome questions. Anybody else? You in the back?
So how did you like do the design of like the mom, like later, like that half of the movie, which was like a monster basically? Like how do you think of that design? You know, that Evil Dead vibes a little bit.
Totally, I love Evil Dead. Definitely a Raimi vibe, and the idea was to take the cauldron, which is made of sticks and bones and earth, and have it reflect in the creature that it unleashes. So the whole design was a reflection of both that cauldron and also the sacrifice that she went through. So she crossed barbed wire, the dog attack, all of that is, you can see it in the elements on her makeup. So we put a lot of thought into, what this creature looked like and felt like, and that was super important to us. So thanks for calling that out.
Yeah, I gotta say, you hear the Jaws rule, right? You're not supposed to see the monster too much, or it kind of lets the air out of the tension. But I feel like you defy that, because the more we were exposed to that monster, the more I was like, I'm out of here. This is way too graphic and real. It looks really well done.
Yeah, you put so much work into the makeup. We want to showcase it a little bit.
Exactly.
But
I think we have time for 1 or 2 more questions. Anybody in the back?
I love the limbs coming out of like the body orifices. So can you talk a little bit about the dance with practical effects and maybe some visual effects, but your passion for prosthetics and how that translated into this movie?
Yeah, you just asked the actress nicely to put your hand in there. No, it was a dummy, like a replica of the actress, and then it had a hole sort of in its chest that someone could put their arm through. So that was practical. All of those effects were practical, and it's just a coordination with the makeup team and the effects team, and to really deliver that. But that was a visual that I really wanted to bring to life, and I'm happy it came out the way it did. That kind of hand coming out of the mouth, and we even ended up reshooting the ending because we loved that moment so much to have that beat where it bursts out of her mouth at the end.
So I have a question to wrap it up. You as a creator, obviously you've done some amazing things and are going on to do more. What's kind of like your dream project for the future?
Yeah, my next project is very different from this one. It's an adaptation of Bob the Builder for Mattel, starring Jennifer Lopez and Anthony Ramos. So very different world. I'm also doing a horror movie based on a Colombian folktale as a feature that I'm shooting this fall. So watch out for that one. It's called The Mouth of the Furnace.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming to talk with us. Round of applause. he doesn't bite. And y'all have a great night.
Have a good night. Thank you guys for staying late too.